This happened years ago when I was in high school. At the time, we were having Christmas at our house. My grandparents, a few aunts and uncles, and cousins were all coming over to our house. We had our whole house all decorated, and some of our family had been in town for a few days and were staying at our house because we had 2 extra rooms. There were a handful of presents wrapped and under the tree, but a majority of the present wrapping happened on Christmas Eve. I had recently gotten my first job earlier in that year, so I was really excited about the gifts that I'd gotten for everyone. Some I had put under the tree already, but there were a couple that were hidden in my room so that nobody would see them. We wrapped presents on Christmas Eve and all hung out late into Christmas Eve night, and everyone got to bed kind of late. I went up in my room and played some video games for a while because I wasn't quite sleepy yet. I ended up staying up pretty late though. It was 2 a.m. and I was about to go to sleep when I realized that I hadn't put my last few presents under the tree. They were already wrapped, but I had them hidden in my bedroom closet. I went and retrieved them and then left my bedroom to place them under the Christmas tree. When I left my bedroom, I saw that the house was all dark and quiet, aside from a little nightlight on the wall that we had up there. I walked down the stairs and then into the living room. It was a little bit brighter there due to the lights on the Christmas tree. I added my presents to the many that were already laid out under the tree. As I turned to go back up the stairs, I heard a noise suddenly. It was so quiet that the noise startled me quite a bit. It was coming from the back of the house. I walked over to see what was going on. As I did, I thought I heard rattling from the back door leading to the patio. It seemed like somebody was going to come through the back door into the house. I entered the kitchen, which is where the back door led to, and turned on the light. As I did, I saw the door opening. I jumped back and heard a noise as if now somebody was running away outside. After I gathered myself, I realized that nobody was there and whoever had been there left. I walked over and looked outside. I didn't see anybody, so I shut the door and locked it. The door must have been left unlocked or something. Our back door was rarely used by us, so that must have been the case. Maybe one of my cousins or somebody used it and never thought to lock it up at night. Either way, I was terrified by what I had just witnessed. I went around making sure all the other doors in the house were locked. After doing so, I was confident whoever tried to get into the house was now gone, and I went back and turned off all the lights, then went upstairs to go to bed. I got into my bedroom again and turned out the lights. When I got into my bed, I happened to pull back the curtain and glance out my window. My window overlooked the side yard of our house. What I saw was a man walking from our front yard going into the back. My heart started racing. This had to be the same person that tried to break in. I ran out of my room and back downstairs. As I did, I turned on every light that I could. I got back down to the kitchen and turned the light on again, hoping this would deter the man. And it seemed to work. I heard sounds as if the man was walking away through the snow near the back door area once again. I looked out the front window and just barely saw the guy walking away down the street. Then I left the lights on and went back up to bed again. This time, I looked out my window and didn't see the man. I figured he was gone for good now, and finally I was able to fall asleep. The next morning was Christmas, and when I woke up, I could already hear family downstairs talking. And when I went downstairs, my mother asked me if I had left the lights on. I told her yes, and then explained why. A few of us went outside, and we found out that the lock on our back door had somehow been broken. It wasn't working at all, so even when it looked like the door was locked from the inside, it wasn't really locked from the outside. That's how the guy had opened up the door. What scares me is that when I went back downstairs that night, I didn't know that the guy could have just walked right in if he wanted, and I wouldn't be able to stop him. I'm grateful that turning on the lights did, and I wonder what would have happened if I didn't. This happened just last year. I was going last-minute Christmas shopping to find a couple of gifts. I had bought stuff for everyone, but I felt like a few of my gifts were just kind of lame, so I went out to the mall to see if I could find anything else. It was the day before Christmas Eve, so the mall was packed. There were cars everywhere in the parking lot, and when I got inside the mall, I saw that it was just as busy in there. This mall was pretty large, and it had many of the popular stores and restaurants. I started out by going to a few of the usual stores that I went to typically when I was there. I did end up finding a couple of good gifts throughout the first couple of stores. I kept on shopping though, and when I was in my third store of the day, which was a clothing store, I noticed this one woman in there. I didn't think anything of her at all, but when I saw her in the next store that I was shopping in, that's when I realized that she was there too. A few stores later, and I saw her again, this time looking at me, and she was walking a ways behind me. I still considered this a coincidence. That is, until I was walking in one of the mall walkways between stores, and I saw the woman walking a ways back behind me. She was fairly short and wore a black jacket and sunglasses. I got the idea that she might be following me for some reason. I decided to randomly stop and then just stand around as if I was going to a nearby coffee shop. The woman stopped as well, and this confirmed it to me. I wasn't really sure what to do though. I had no clue why she would be following me. I decided to just ignore her and keep shopping. I went to about 3 more stores. Occasionally, I would look around or behind me and typically would see the woman. I wasn't sure if she knew that I knew she was following me or not. Eventually, I was finally done shopping after being in the mall for probably about 2 hours. I walked over to the exits near the parking lot where my car was parked. When I got out to the doors, I saw the woman behind me was going to leave as well. Now, I was a little bit concerned that she was going to follow me home in her car or something like that. When I got outside the mall, I literally sprinted into the parking lot and ducked behind the first car that I saw. It might sound crazy to you, because it kind of sounds crazy to me now as I'm writing this, but that's what came to my mind at the time. I barely saw the woman walking out, and I used the many cars in the parking lot to shield myself from her vision. I walked between rows of cars, ducking down, as the woman walked closer and seemed to be looking around. It's as if she knew I was hiding, because she had either seen me run behind a car, or she knew I wouldn't disappear that quickly out of her sight. Slowly and carefully, I inched closer to where my car was parked. I knew the woman was nearby, but I couldn't see her. Finally, I saw my car in sight. I was even more careful to get close to it, and when I reached it, I got inside the back door and then ducked down in the back seat so I wouldn't be seen. I carefully looked out the window and saw the woman a little ways away. I watched her stand around there for a good 3 or 4 minutes until I saw a car drive up and the woman get inside of it. Then they left. I never found out why she was following me for such a long time. For some background on the story, I'm a female, and I live alone in a house. I live about 5 minutes away from my parents' house, and I go there for most holidays. A few years ago, during Christmas, I had plans to go to my parents' as usual. In the meantime, I had decorated my entire house with Christmas decorations pretty much right after Thanksgiving. I love getting into the holiday spirit, and I got a tree, nutcrackers, and all kinds of other things. I was playing Christmas music in my house almost every day. The weekend before Christmas, I hosted a Christmas party at my house with my friend group. We did a little gift exchange and things like that. Fast forward to Christmas Eve, several days later. I woke up in the morning at 8 a.m. This is later than I usually have to get up because I had off of work. I felt so refreshed and I got out of bed and made some coffee. As I was doing so, I looked out and noticed a single gift under my Christmas tree. It was a green box that was sort of large and it looked poorly wrapped. The present had a bow on it as well. I was confused. I was sure I hadn't seen it before. I thought for a moment maybe it was left over from the Christmas party I had, but I was sure that I would have seen it. The gift was right under the tree and in very plain sight. I walked over to it and examined it. My name was written on it with a smile face drawn next to my name. I wondered how on earth it got there, and I decided to open it. When I did, it was a cardboard box. I opened that, which contained a handwritten note, and then a few random flowers and a winter hat. The hat was one that I already had though. I was really confused and I read the note. It said, "Merry Christmas. I got flowers just for you, even though you didn't invite me to your party last week. It looked like fun. By the way, here's your hat back. You left it outside." I was so confused after reading this, and a creeped out feeling came over me. Was this some kind of a joke or something? I took a picture of it and put it in the group chat that I had with my friends. They were really quick to all deny it, which I believed. It didn't seem like something any of them would do. But more importantly, how did this get inside of my house? I walked back over to the kitchen. When I did, I suddenly thought that I heard a noise coming from inside my house. I froze in place. I didn't know if I was being paranoid or if I actually had heard something. Then I heard it again. I could tell exactly where that noise was coming from. It was from the closet down in my hallway. I walked quickly but calmly to the front door, grabbed my keys, then walked outside. Then I got into my car and left. I drove to my parents' house and told them everything. We called the police, who then went to my house. A short time later, I was told they had found a man hiding inside. It was a huge relief to hear that he had been caught. It turns out some guy had started stalking me and I didn't even know it. He apparently broke in through the window that was behind my Christmas tree, so I hadn't noticed that it was broken. After breaking into my house, he placed his gift and then hid in my hallway closet. I'm so lucky that I left when I did, because I don't know what that man's intentions were.